So Rachel Reeves has come out in favour of rentier capitalism and said that she would like to see workers back in the office. Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachael Reeves says she wants to see more people in the office more of the time. It comes as trade union members at the Office for National Statistics voted to go on strike over plans to get them to return to the office for at least 40% of the working week. I think the individual managers need to have those conversations with their staff, Reeves told ITV News. I personally think it is good for people to get back into the office. I think it's good for productivity and good for morale. It's going to be different in different workplaces, and different workplaces have different needs and different levels of teamwork, the Shadow Chancellor said. So I think that's a decision in the end for individual managers and their members of staff. But I know where I would rather be when I'm in work. I like to be in the office with my colleagues. That makes me more productive. I know she thinks it's a good idea. I know she thinks it's good for productivity, but she's wrong. Now, looking at various statistics, they show that productivity goes up. Now, I've seen some that says, okay, well, they remain the same. Now, here's what I found from two reports, one in the US and one in the UK. Now, these are the following findings from Stanford University in California. A study by Stanford of 16,000 workers over 9 months found that working from home increased productivity by 13%. This increase in performance was due to more calls per minute attributed to a quieter and more convenient working environment and working more minutes per shift because of fewer breaks and sick days. In the same study, workers also reported improved work satisfaction and attrition rates were cut by 50%. Now, there are other studies in the US that show productivity up by 47% and 77%, but this particular study was over the course of 9 months and they surveyed 16,000 people. So this is probably the most robust. Now, according to stats provided by Standout CV, in the UK, 2/3 of employers claim they are more productive when working at home. 75% of workers say that they are more productive when working at home because of the lack of distractions from colleagues. More than half of UK bosses think that their teams are more productive when working from home. 58% of employees say that working remotely gives them more autonomy. 55% of people claim that they can concentrate better when working at home. 3 major studies, JD Edwards, American Express, and Compaq, find that remote workers are between 15 and 45% more productive than their office counterparts. So what we can see is remote working doesn't negatively affect productivity, it actually increases. Now, there are people who want all workers to go back in the office 100% of the time, most notably Alan Sugar, who I think is a complete tool, by the way. Now, this way of thinking has nothing to do with logic. It's simply an anti-worker bias. They think workers are lazy. They don't want to work. Boring stuff we hear all the time. But statistics show that remote working is good for productivity and it makes workers happier. So there isn't really a good reason to change the balance here or to force people to go back to the office. But facts don't care about their feelings. Most workers want a hybrid. They're generally happy with the balance as it is now. They don't want to be in the office more than they are currently. And my basis of this assumption is that unions don't want to see the balance shifted. And also the following stats show an improvement in people's well-being. More than half of employees claim to be happier and more have job satisfaction when working remotely. 33% of remote workers have been able to dedicate more time to their hobbies, interests, and family. Those who work from home are able to dedicate at least an extra 30 minutes to exercise every week. Remote workers report that the cutting out their commute was the biggest benefit to their mental health. And I think without stats, common sense explains that hybrid working is good. Workers save money, whether that's on petrol, transport, lunch. Sometimes people don't bring their own lunch. They forget. I do that all the time. And they have to get an overpriced meal deal, especially at Pret. Now, I don't like Pret at all. Kind of screams middle class. To be honest, most people that consume Pret are probably working class. But it doesn't taste that good. So it's not exactly worth taking out a mortgage just to buy a sandwich from there. But there's also distractions at work. A lot of pointless jobs are given on top of your existing workload. Chatting to colleagues, which obviously isn't a bad thing. But if we're talking about productivity, then clearly it affects it. People tend to stretch out their work over 8 hours. Everyone knows about the after lunch dip where, people tend to slow down. I get tired, especially after a big lunch. If you're working 8 hours and your lunch is between 12 and 2, the rest of the day, you kind of coast it. And, I'm not speaking for everyone here, just myself and past work colleagues. But personally, if you ask me, I'd rather 6 hours. Go in, maybe just have like 2 50-minute breaks, power it and get home, That's me, though. We don't have stats on whether people work less hours from home, but shorter hours is better because it keeps the worker more focused over a short period of time. It's why the 4-day work week is so successful. There's no loss of productivity despite workers doing less hours. In fact, 90% of businesses keep it after the 4-day week trial. Forcing people back to the office benefits rentier capitalism. There's money to be made for companies to rent out offices, but businesses may actually benefit if they transition to remote working. And I think the hybrid model is good. Some days are spent in the office. That's good for human interaction. And then some days spent at home. But the entire week where you're in the office and you feel that pressure from your managers breathing down your neck in a controlled environment, I don't think that's particularly good for the human psyche. And how many pointless interactions have you had at work? Maybe with your manager and you just want to get on and do the actual work. So I find it strange that Rachael Reeves, who will be the next chancellor, is weighing in on this. Like, she could have stayed out of it and she could have, resorted to facts or evidence, which she hasn't, because the facts and evidence don't support her position. And I think it's clearly pandering, because some idiots, as I already mentioned, in the media have been calling for everyone to go back to the office full time because they think workers are being lazy. Well, the stats say otherwise. And of course, Reeves certainly doesn't want to go up against the opinion of bosses, does she? So this is more unevidenced bullshit from Labour. They should be siding with the workers since, they're supposed to represent them. And workers like working from home at least part of the week. So once again, Reeves has pitted herself against workers and unions, but none of us are surprised. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and drop a comment. It's good for the algorithm and I'm interested in what you have to say. If you're not already subscribed, please do and hit the notification bell. You can also support this channel by becoming a member for 99p per month. And if you're feeling a little more generous, then you can support us on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month. This channel for a while has been uploading every single day, and it's quite a lot of work that is still voluntary and scheduled around my paid work. But I have so much ambition, expect in the future to see more variety in content, such as interviews and Vox Pops. But I want this to be a fully fledged media organisation where not only is this my full-time job, but to have multiple people working for Turn Left. I like to see a live show in the future, more content that delves into culture, history, and much more. But that can only be done if there's money. So please, if you can, support us in any way that's in your capacity. And thank you to existing members, subscribers, and patrons. See you next time.